Well, Jeff, sometimes you see people and you're like, wow, that person looks great for their age, or sometimes the opposite. Well, turns out there's some interesting data behind that, how your face looks. So, what if a simple selfie, picture you take of yourself, could provide deeper insights into your health than traditional medical assessments? This is what we're seeing with a new tool called FaceAge, of course, powered by AI, as everything we talk about is. Researchers from Mass General Brigham in Boston have explored this sort of question of whether a selfie can answer information about your biological age. That's different, of course, from your chronological age. The tool is trained on about 59,000 publicly available facial images from presumed healthy people that are over age 60. And they use this tool to sort of predict prevalence of cancer in different patients. So, person can take a picture of their face and input their chronological age, and depending on the sort of biomarkers of their face, it will predict with high accuracy whether the person has cancer, and also predict 6 month survival outcomes for that person with cancer with a high degree of accuracy, as I mentioned before. So, this is pretty fascinating to see. Just those biomarkers you can see from your face can tell us a lot about your health.
I found this fascinating there are kind of two things that occurred to me. One is I guess this is something that doctors have done for a while. They call it the face test for a cancer patient of like when you look older or, we've all seen this, you're not looking so good or you look really good, for undergoing health issues. And you kind of have like an immediate reaction to how they look. And so I guess that intuition actually kind of corresponds to some reality. And there's some real world data behind that face test being real. And now it made me wonder, like, how many places in a given organization is there an intuition that you've never been able to quantify, but you kind of know. And now, could you find ways to use data to actually quantify? Is that right? And if so, that's actually a really interesting data point on how they might, in this case, treat a patient, but also, any number of other things. So I thought it was really fascinating.
It is fascinating. We've actually talked about a few of these. We talked about the mining case a few weeks ago. That was real world mining and not Minecraft mining, where there's just whole industries of people who have intuitions about something, and then AI can sort of validate or devalidate those intuitions. We talk about it in lending all the time. Of course, that's what Upstart's working on, is how to, use AI to predict lending outcomes. And that is an industry that for a long time has been really based on intuition, right? There was a long time where, character was something that was used in sort of a lending assessment. And a lot of the work and thinking has been about how to prevent bias in those sort of human intuition types of assessments. This is sort of a interesting use case where it's actually looking at, a lot of those human assessments are right because they are based on experiences that people have picked up over, decades, or in their own experience of doing this work. And there's a lot of accuracy there. And of course, they're not going to get it right all the time, but how can you use AI to sort of harness those intuitions and also debias the times where the human is going to make a mistake? It's pretty fascinating. And I think there's a lot of industries that are like this, where there's an intuition. I think we talked about it about in the legal profession, right? In the situation we talked about in New York, where it was used to sort of predict whether a person should be given bail or not, this AI-based things. And today, what they have is a judge looking at a face and sort of making a character assessment of a person. And can you instead use an AI-based system? So this is just fascinating to me.
Yeah. Also, I think a good reminder as I look at this, it makes me think about like the challenges to deploying it more broadly than this test, because you go, oh, they did it in Boston. How ethnically diverse is the population of faces that they have? Will this model, even if it's super accurate on this population, generalize if used in a different place? Oh, they trained it on people that they thought were 60 and above. Well, if a 45-year-old cancer patient like me comes in, is the algorithm still accurate? So even while there can be a very high degree of accuracy in the model, in the real world, in a certain setting, will it generalize to other settings? Is the data set sufficient to do that? I think a real question for it when this might be deployed more broadly. And it's just a good reminder of what those challenges can be for something that looks really, really useful and effective where it's being used, but maybe has some challenges to being deployed more broadly.